our Fireside chat today. We have four great speakers here waiting for you to talk about data science, your future dream job. And please feel free to use a YouTube account to comment under our live stream in order to raise some questions. We will have like a more panel style discussion in the first part of this event, and then it's gonna get more interactive, and we're gonna answer your questions. So yeah, everything you always wanted to know about becoming a data scientist, we have great experts here, and I'd like to introduce them to you now. All right, so I'll start with the ladies. So we're having Juana here, who is working at Danone and who is the HR director. So we're going to talk about the recruiting perspectives, obviously, what it takes to become a data scientist, what HR experts are looking for, and what is needed from this perspective. And Nabila is going to tell us more about data governance today, which is like a very important topic when you try to make data science productive and really productionalize it. And it has often been neglected. And we really want to raise also some awareness for this interesting topic and the job positions within this area. So that's what Nabila also gonna discuss later on in our panel discussion. From Germany, also joining in, we do have Timo, who is a leading data scientist. He has made a transition from starting as data scientist, becoming senior, and now he's a lead. And he also founded his own company in the course. Yeah, so we're basically discussing interesting topics here. Maybe also if you're needing a PhD to become a data scientist or not. So this would be also a great perspective from Timo. And lastly, but not missed out, we do have Amin, who has been working in data for over a decade. He's leading a team of over 40 data enthusiasts, as he's mentioning it. And we're really gonna go deeper into the leading perspective and what it takes to be a leader within data science. And yeah, so we're looking out for an interesting talk. And for the beginning, I'd like to start with a short like icebreaker, and I'd like to ask you to describe yourself with 2 to 3 adjectives. This has something. This tradition has been raised by Eileen, who gave our last fireside chat. Feel free to rewatch it. It's also on YouTube, and it was on the International Women's Day. And this is our second fire chat. And I'm going to start with 3 adjectives about myself. So I describe myself as curious, ambitious, but also easygoing. Okay. Nabila, you want to go first?
I would describe myself as energetic, intuitive, and looking for the big picture.
Great, thank you. Barna, just go on.
Jasmine, I lost you for most of the part. Would you mind repeating your question?
No, I don't mind at all. Yeah, as usual, like some connection if you're connecting from all over the globe, right? So I'd like to ask you to describe yourself with 2 to 3 adjectives.
Thank you. Thanks, Jasmine, for repeating that. So hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon to you, wherever you're joining from. My name is Bhavna, and I will use only one adjective to define myself: curious.
Nice. Thank you. Timo.
Yeah, thanks. So I would say, I have some background noise. So to be like tech enthusiast, I would say, and pretty much I would say creative and open-minded.
Awesome, thank you. And I mean, surprise us. Okay. I mean, you're still on mute.
All right, I'm still on mute. Thank you for that. So thank you for all these nice adjectives. I really like the one, especially curious. It's good for enjoying life. Myself, I will describe myself with 2 words. I would say smiling and a bit serious.
Great, yeah, we've seen it smile, so continue smiling. It's a very happy atmosphere, and that's also what this fireside chat is about, right? We want to tell our audience our real and honest perspectives and create a comfortable and atmosphere, so that everyone raise your questions as they are. No need to be shy here, right? And yeah, I'd like to start with a bit of an introduction. So why we thought of data science as a fireside chat topic. I mean that Harvard Business Review article has been around since 2012, right? When it has been called the sexiest job of the 21st century, which is quite a statement, making it out for a whole 100 years. Obviously, we can't tell the future, but for the beginning, I'd really like to perspective. Do you think that statement is justifiable? Do you really think that data scientist is currently the sexiest job alive? Just start whenever you feel like
So
you
maybe
want to.
Jasmine, I can. Sure. Maybe I'll give it a go, and then I'll invite all of others to complement what their views are. I feel, being in HR function and supporting the business need and all the functions, I do think that, that article was absolutely relevant.
Mhm.
And what it stays, it has become much more relevant post-COVID world. I think with the pace of digitalization, data acceleration, and data collection, and what we can do with that, I think it's opening up many more opportunities which were not even seen in 2012. So yes, my a simple answer to what your statement was, yes, it remains still relevant, and it becomes much more stronger now.
Awesome. Thank you, Bana.
I think it's really true because if you look at the data science, what is bringing for the end user, for normal human being like us, if you look at us as a user, you see at that from a cognitive perspective, everything is becoming smarter. Every area of your life is changing thanks to data science by bringing more smartness because we can apply more intelligence to the processes that we used to have in the past and making them more natural, looking for the human being more natural because they are somehow smart. And I think this is a complete leap forward for all the industries and all the area of technology. So I think for the future, it will be everywhere. And this is why it's exciting about data science in the future. So we are changing everything almost.
Yeah, great perspective. Thank you. If I just like throw in my personal opinion, right? So I don't know if I properly introduce myself. I'm Jasmine, and I'm also working as a data scientist. So obviously, I kind of agree that it's a very hot job. Otherwise, I maybe wouldn't have taken it. Obviously, it aligns with my personal interests, but for me, also like the perspective of the future was a thing, right? Timo, was it the same kind of motivation for you?
Yeah, well, I was when I started in 2016, I was quite happy after the PhD that I really could follow what I was doing at the university and really apply what I also learned in the PhD in the job, right? So it's for me, it's fun. I don't know. I don't feel sexier when I became the data scientist, but I don't know what the next, let's say, 80 years will bring. But I mean, it's, as you already said, it's hard to look into the future, but it's it's very relevant at the moment. Data is as I mean I mentioned, is collected more and more. So I guess it will be at least very relevant for the next, I would say, 5 to 10 years, and then
Yeah.
nobody knows what will happen, right?
Yeah, right. Nabila, what is your perspective? I mean, you've been in the business for over 20 years, starting focusing on information systems. Would you have imagined now being here working with data on that extent?
Yes, definitely. Let me respond to the data scientist. Is it the sexiest job? I will tell you from the data family group, it is definitely the data scientist that is the most sexiest because it's the visible piece of the iceberg and the one who gets to really manipulate data and play with them. So really, from the other data words going around data scientists, I really think that this is what the young talent are looking for. Really, this exposure to data and decision making with data. For your second question about was I envisioning us kind of the market being there 20 years ago, I would say yes and no, because 20 years ago we were already
Nabila, we missed you. Your audio connection.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's on.
Yeah. Okay. So I was saying, yes, 20 years ago, of course, we were envisioning a little bit of this, but definitely not at this extent.
Yeah. I mean, back then I was not even yet thinking about what I would become in the future. So it's definitely right. It is a main thing of the last years, and I think we've seen a lot of progress. Also, like starting with introduction of say concrete data science study programs, which definitely has not been around say 10 years ago. What is your opinion about that? Would you recommend, say, early talents who just thinking about getting started, getting an academic education? Does it make sense to go to a, say, concrete data science program, or would you rather, say, recommend a more broader education, maybe like computer science, and then transitioning into data?
Who is the question for? Sorry.
Sorry, my question was if you would recommend.
Is it for me?
No, it's like for all of us.
Yeah, maybe just to add my few words. I mean, I'm from computer science, and I would say it that's maybe I have some bias in my opinion, but from my perspective, it helps me a lot to have this broader education in terms of computer science, because you're touching like a lot of technology which is really like related to computer science depending on the use case you're really tackling. But then on the other hand, it really helps me to have this specialization into data science. So I would recommend to start with or to at least, it depends on the study, to have this broader overview of computer science, but really to specialize in the data field.
Thank you, Timo.
I would say that going into data science, similarly that as Timo, you need to have another skills that you're going from. So he's talking about technology and his technology background. I would say another strong skill set that could be very valuable to move into data science is to have a very good business background. So I think that the data science is the crossroad of a strong business understanding and a strong technology skill set to be able to bring data and to make data say something meaningful. So I think that people with a good business background and interest into data could be very good data scientists too.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great perspective. But I don't like to give the chance to also to give your perspective, obviously, if you like.
Yeah, I think I am completely agree with what have been said by Timo and Nabila. The data science and the university try to find a path to serve the industry with talent that are able to cap with the needs of the business on the data science part. It wasn't easy in the beginning to understand what is a data scientist and what is the skill set that is needed and what are the tool set that is needed to be operational on the day one in the company. I think the university had learned a lot during these years and come up with a program that are now fitting with the skill set, which is almost complete. Because I can see now some masters, they give you the statistical background that you need, they give you the computer science background that you need, and also they give you the soft skills that you need to be onboarded in the business, to understand the business, to speak up, to communicate properly. And I think, they start understanding really what is the industry expecting from the data scientist.
Yeah, great point, because I believe that still for many people who maybe not have done, say, extensive research up to now, data science is still like a very fluffy term, I'd call it, right? So it can be anything and everything behind it. And but I guess we're making also a lot of progress in that term. Juana, do you want to give your opinion from HR perspective? Do you think we need more, like even more concrete job titles and maybe like also more specification on a job title rather than just saying data scientist?
Sorry, Jasmine. I think Vana is not hearing us. She's writing me. I think she has a technical problem.
Oh,
So
okay,
maybe we
okay.
can keep this question on, and she can.
Yeah. Let's do that. Okay, great. Thank you, Amin. Yeah, then maybe you'd like to give your opinion about that topic. Do you see the need for more specific job titles in the industry, rather than just like labeling data scientists and in the end not really knowing what comes in the package?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm also, or for our company, we're of course also in the hiring process, and I'm really also interviewing people. And it's really hard to differentiate between also others saying, okay, what is like a data scientist? Could be anything between. I mean, there are more specific titles, but you most or very often they are not used. Like you have machine learning engineer, you have, well, let's say AI researcher, machine learning researcher who is more into really, yeah, driving the hot topics and really implementing and researching in terms of machine learning or data science, AI, however you call it. And there's also, like, I found that even database admins were called data scientists. So
Really?
yeah, I found a job posting and I was like, okay, someone is looking for a data scientist, and I read through the job specifications and the job profile, and it was like, okay, they're really looking for a database admin, just maybe to get more applicants on this and more visibility of the job. And of course, from my perspective, it's always better to on the one hand to have to really know what you as an applicant, what you will get or what is the expectation for you. But on the other hand, of course, companies try to really get a high visibility of the job, and if there's no, and I guess most of the people or applicants are looking for data science because, as you said, it's a quite sexy job. And if you're then writing, let's say, machine learning engineer, no one will find your job posting, and that's why I guess a lot of job postings are just called data scientist.
Yeah. So that would be a very pragmatic explanation, right? For to say, let's call it a phenomenon. Yeah, yeah, awesome. Thank you for the perspective. Also, like from your real life interview, how does it feel now, like going from say starting out as a data scientist to senior data scientist now to the basically interviewing ex colleagues from former times?
Well, I mean, it's that never that I planned it like that, but it's just, of course, the only thing that somehow changed is, of course, experience and responsibilities. So I'm still trying to find the time to really build machine learning models because it's a lot of it makes fun to me somehow, and I really like to, in the end, if you train the model to have a good result and really to be able to, yeah, bring this into production, that the data science model or the machine learning model really brings some use to customers, people, whatever. And the only thing for me that changed is somehow that I have a better feeling how to approach problems.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, you were mentioning you're having fun with developing machine learning algorithms, so glad to hear that. But in order to do so, right, at the very first step, we need data. And you know, like as well as I do, it's not always like we don't live in a perfect world where data is available in abundance in 100% clean state. Nabila, maybe you wanna say make some expectation management in this point.
So expectation management of the role of data scientist and the so I think it's the moment where we talk about the data governance, which is here to ensure the quality.
Mm-hmm. Nabila, I already I lost you audio wise. Sorry. Still can't hear
Tana
you.
is
Oh,
smooth.
what
We can't hear you.
I nothing changed. I still have my network. Can you hear me?
Now it's
Yes.
back. It's back on. Great.
Okay, I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry for that. So I was saying that most of the time when we talk about data scientists and the ambition we get with all this data science and learning exercise, we usually are brought in as data governance as a second thought when we have challenges with the data. So one of the first value of the data governance is ensure the quality of an organization's data. And we are more and more moving from data governance to this data enablement work where we are supporting both the business to express and make the data in a shape that can be consumed by the data scientists. So I would say that data science and data governance go hand in hand in order to ensure that the data science exercise don't end up as a technical exercise with data that cannot be exploited by the business.
Mm-hmm. And I really like that you're not describing it as the situation where basically the data scientist is just the customer of data governance, but they really need to work together, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think there was a yes.
Like
Okay,
it's a
great.
complementary. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't hear me either?
No, I
I
can
don't know
hear
what's
you
going
now,
on.
but there
Yeah.
was a short phase of
Mm.
losing connection. Okay. Yeah. I mean, can you tell us a bit more about maybe before going back to Bana when connection issues are solved? What are you looking for when you're needing another member of your team and when you're hiring somebody? What are the skills you're looking for?
Okay, thank you for this question. It's a bit tricky question. I think first of all, before we look after the specific skills and hard skills, you're looking for the personality that you expect to fit with your teams and with your mindset. Mostly, we are a data team, and the data team is about bringing raw data to users to a level of an information and an insight so they can make a decision based on it. If you look from that perspective, it means that to drive value, you need to have people who are really understanding the value and focusing on the bringing value to the customers or your users. And it means that you have to be active listener. It means that you have curious about the business, and you have to be very focused on understanding the situation and the context to be able to build up the right solution for the users. And this is not a soft skill, it's a hard skill. It's analytical thinking and also active listening. And if you have this people in your team, you make sure that whatever situation you face, you will not basically reply to the wrong question. You will reply to the right question, even if you don't have the expertise technologically, if you don't have the right skills from technical perspective, but you can build them later on. So this is the key things. So when it comes to hire people, I really look for potential. I really look for the people who are listening, the people who are thinking in the same time, and people who are really want to achieve something greater than what they know right today. And of course, when it comes to the hard skills, if you look for the data science, for example, you need to have a solid understanding of statistics to be able to cap with any situation that you are facing which is new because you have some new problems. You need to see that people have really a good appetite to manipulate the data, to handle the data, because never the data will be ready, and you know all that, and you have to manipulate them to prepare it for yourself. So here, if you have this, I would say this minimum skill set, I'm really sure that the rest I can manage in a way or another. So this is really what I'm focusing on, and the key thing to hide or to make sure that you get the enthusiasm from the hiring manager when you are a data scientist new in your career and trying to find your job, is to really get an active listener. Listen, understand, ask question, make sure that you are understanding what's going on there, and based on that you make sure that you can show up what you can do for them so that you can help them. And this is, I think, the best formula to find a successful hard job or to find your best fit.
Thank you. I think that is great advice for career starters, for students working on developing into that data path, right? And I think it's great that you really made it explicit that communication skills and active listening are hard skills. It's not just that you can just focus on say learning this and that programming language and you can just neglect on the soft skills, right? It is a really important skill. So HBR described the data scientists back in 2012 in their article, let me get that right, as the hybrid of data hacker, analyst, communicator, and trusted advisor. What do you think about that?
It's a fit, I would say, and I would also even though it sounds a bit like truisms, as Amin said, I would totally agree and say, okay, it's about, I would add smart people. Also, at least for us, we're also always looking for people where we have the feeling that they are smart, which somehow combines everything what Amin, or a lot of things what Amin said, into yeah, the four things you said. So I would totally agree.
Great. Great. What do you think about the perspective of teamwork? Do you see data scientists rather say as the lone wolf who works on problems in his silo, or do you believe in the power of teams also in data science, and maybe also what is needed to make that happen? Maybe also like in terms of tools.
I can give you concrete question answer for that,
Great.
because in my team I had several topics where they was run by one data scientist, and after a few weeks of work, they start complaining that they need to some interaction with people to show their thought, to share their thoughts, to brainstorm with them, to just have some mirror to challenge themselves and to discuss. And I think it's absolutely necessary to have a team rather than have individuals. Maybe it depends on the personality of the person. If he's like a lonely wolf trying to find the best score that no one has reached yet, and he's completely disconnected from the from the from the rest of the world. But honestly, in our company, for example, we don't look for those people because we don't have like very advanced cases where you need a PhD guy who is like the smartest guy in his field. But we need someone who can connect with business, who can connect with the data engineer, who can connect with the machine learning engineer, and to be central in the setup so that it will be completely smooth. So we need someone who is a team worker, and then this is definitely for me a success factor to be able to build up a setup of data science in the company.
Great. Nabila, do you want to add the perspective of data governance? Do you
Yeah.
see that people working in data governance have like a slightly different skill set, or would you agree like that it's the same kind of talents that you attract?
It's the same kind of talent in terms of communication and listening capabilities, but it's a quite different skill set in terms of technical skills, because it needs to be people who are not interested by creating, the artificial intelligence, for example, algorithm, but being able to understand the data behind it to support the data scientists who will create the artificial intelligence algorithm, for example. And I will double what Amin was saying about the teamwork, is that we were facing in our company a challenge where in each of the contexts we were getting, one data science to work on this topic. And clients were expecting to have this person having so many skill set that it was never possible. So we are moving into a model where we are trying to create groups of people who will be able to contribute in a part-time way to different projects, to be sure that we are bringing the right skill set, all the right.
Oh no, I think we're having audio connection issues again, Nabila. At least in the last sentence. But before
No,
that,
but
everything was great.
I think your idea was clear.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that was it.
Yeah, so I think we're good.
You're back. Thank you. Awesome.
and
Yeah.
and we have some questions, I guess, from
Yeah,
the participants.
great. Could
So I don't know.
see them too. Yeah. Let's get on it. So we have two questions already from the chat, which is great. So let's jump right into it. First question was, does a data scientist need to code or to have programming skills? Yeah, it's a good question if you're not yet super familiar with the topic, right? Timo, you want to go first here?
Yeah, sure. So it's a good question. And the question is, how do you define data science? So from my perspective, a data scientist should be able to code or program. But I would say at our company, our data scientists are also like, I would say, machine learning engineers. And as a machine learning engineer, you should of course be able to program. So we're somehow combining these two roles. But it really depends if you are, let's say, the guy, let's say in a bigger project, managing also or the data science project and coordinating with the engineer and the machine learning engineer and data engineer and so on, then maybe not. But it's from my perspective a big plus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can
go
answer this
ahead.
question because I think the underlying question maybe is I would like to be data scientist, but I don't like coding. I think this is maybe the question that is
Yeah.
behind
Yeah.
this question. I think it's possible because as like any technology, we start with the very basic coding level. What we see, for example, if you look how do we program data mining before, and how we doing it today, what we call data science with the scikit-learn and all the libraries that are giving you an abstraction level, and you don't need coding. We are moving toward low coding platform. It already exists. There are some platforms that where you do data science basically by dropping algorithms on your screen. You can do it with machine learning in Azure. You can do it with AI.c3.ai, for example. There are a lot of Alteryx, and I see a lot of technology that they can enable you to do data science without coding. But I think, as Timo said, why he's believing that it's absolutely necessary, because we'll face a limit. And if you know coding, there is no limit. This is the difference, because if you stick to what the interface give you and you can manage it, and if your cases are quite simple, I would say, or mainstream, it's possible. But if you go for advanced use cases, for sure you'll find a limitation. And this is where you can, if you use R or Python, you have theoretically no limit.
Yeah, right. So I guess the big aspect is freedom, right? So how much freedom do you need? How much freedom do you want? Nabila, short perspective, what do you say? Okay, we still
But in
can't.
data governance, I expect people to have some.
Yeah, it's coming. Maybe I think there's
Hello.
some lag. There's just some
Can you hear
lag
me?
there. Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to say quickly, I don't recruit data scientists, but even in data governance, I'm expecting people to have a minimum technical skill set to be self-serving. You know, when you work with data, you need to be able to self-serve yourself into analyzing it. So there is a minimal of programming, whatever you call programming, that is required for you to be able to access data.
Okay, thank you.
And maybe to even add one thing, because Amin mentioned those like interfaces where you can drag and drop all of those things. It's the more important. I mean, you could because I already used those. I would totally agree. If the use case is simple, then even AutoML approaches could work there. But but what is also very important is to really understand what the algorithms are doing you are just using there, and just using some algorithms from those interfaces is at least not sufficient. And if you know these algorithms and what they are doing, then you're most often not that far away from programming, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah. True.
That's a
Honestly,
good
I think,
point.
if you have the
Go
low
ahead.
coding will be for those who doesn't like really coding, the low coding platform will be an opportunity in the near future. It's already there or today, but I think in 2-3 years or 5 years maybe, it will be definitely easy to make an algorithms without having to make a complete code end to end. But I think, yeah, it's a question to ask yourself. If you really don't want to code, I think going to a data scientist career, it's give you a kind of limitation from the beginning.
Yeah. And so if you're the person who wants to dig deeper and wants to get to know more about the background of machine learning models, right? Which I think is also like a good thing to do always. We have been asked the question: how good are Coursera courses on data science? So maybe as one means to educate yourself. So, do you believe in the power of, say, massive open online courses? Timo,
So
like
yeah, so I always or often I'm asked like which courses can you recommend, and I'm always recommending. I hope I pronounce it correctly. The course from Andrew and G from Stanford on Coursera, which was or is there already since a few years, and it gives you I would say the theoretical background with some exercises on the classical machine learning algorithms, and I would say. I guess it's even called machine learning and not data science. But that's the one I'm always recommending. And maybe to add directly to the second question. I'm not looking if I see CVs. I'm not looking at the certificates because, from my perspective, they are more or less a waste of money to do these certificates. But the content of those courses is really important.
Great. Thank you for already addressing the second question, which was basically how important the certificates are in a CV. I mean, go ahead.
I think I can take the HR perspective. it comforts you as a hiring manager to say that this guy's went through a certification and he has a minimum of skills that has been validated through an exam. I think this is the effect that it can give you, and it's comfort you. So I think it's good. Now it depends on how to say on yourself. How do you value that as well? Did you went through behind the certification? Are you having certifications everywhere? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think it's if you are want to be an expert in a field and you want to build up skills in that field, having certification is definitely a kind of insurance that the guarantee you're giving to your hiring manager when you're with them, or to your enterprise as well.
Yeah, okay. Nabila, what is your perspective on say Coursera maybe and in more extent say also maybe the number of certificates which was raised
Okay.
in the question.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't have a specific perspective on Coursera. On the certificate, I will add to what Amin was saying that maybe it is also market driven. There's some hiring market where people are very sensitive to the certificate, and some hiring market where they're more sensitive to the experience. So from my experience in different countries, I can see how much the hiring manager are sensitive or not to the certificate. It's really cultural and market driven.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's why I think it's great we have experts from all over the globe here, because in the end, obviously, it depends on the market and the culture, as you say, where the applicants try to get a job, right? We got another question, which I think it's also one of the questions many talents do have, but maybe are too shy to ask, right? So what if maybe you are not yet super proficient in math? You're just not a math genius, right? So how much of a barrier do you see that for building AI models and becoming successful data scientist? Want to go first? Timo, you're curious to answer here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the question is, how do you define a math genius? I wouldn't say I'm a math genius, but it's enough, at least from my perspective, to understand those models, what they are doing, maybe from a broader perspective, to be able to choose the right model and to understand more or less what they are doing. But I would say it's not needed to really be able to prove something that these algorithms converge or something, as long as you understand under what circumstances they work good or well, and under what circumstances they don't work well.
Yeah, that's a good perspective. I mean, you wanted to add something?
I think I just put a threshold to what Timo said to maybe clarify a bit the picture, because people are scared because they feel there is a lot of maths.
Yeah, I think
For
scared
me,
is the right word. Sorry, go ahead.
I think for data science, what is needed is that if you are applying an algorithm and you are having a score and a confusion matrix that give you a result, and you would like to deep dive to see how can you optimize, and you have to not be scared to go deeper onto the articles explaining how the formula behind this model is working, so that you can understand how maybe you can prepare your data differently, how can you augment your data, and how can you improve and fine-tune your data set and your algorithm so that it can be perform better. Do not be scared. You don't have to be a math genius like Timo said, but at least to be able to open up the Pandora box and look what is there and how you can try to handle it by yourself. I think this is enough.
Yeah, the curiosity behind that, right? As you said, I think that's a very good point. Nabila, you'd like to add something here?
Yeah, just one thing about the math skills that are needed when you work in data in general is really to be able to conceptualize what you're working on and to identify the patterns. So in the math world, if you have this mindset of being able to conceptualize what you're working on, even if you're not a math genius like Timo was saying, I think you're already have the skill set to start working with data and kind of learn from there.
Yeah, and I think that already like asking yourself that question, right? Like being aware of maybe like some part of maths are needed is like the first step of raising that awareness, and maybe doing a bit of training, maybe using massive online courses, which are also available on Maths Greatly Explained. So I think there's needs and there's also like niche within data area where you can really like play out your talents. Great. Another question, like maybe a bit controversial one, right? Is can AI replace data scientists in the next 5 to 10 years? I guess that leads towards automated machine learning, that kind of questions. No code platforms where you just plug in and playing with like black box functions. Timo, what do you say about that? Do you see yourself like your job on risk?
No, to be honest, no. And it really depends on whether we are talking about weak or strong AI. So what we're seeing at the moment is just we're having AIs being able to solve really, really narrow and specific problems. So I didn't see any, or I don't see any AI which can like where you just throw in the data, maybe add some natural description or language description about the problem and the data itself, and you'll just get the output you are looking for. I don't know what will be there in 10 years. I don't see this in the next 5 years, but I mean, a lot of people were also wrong about, let's say, when Google came up with a narrow solution for let's say Go for the board game. I guess it was 5 years ago or something. And there was also the intuition that there won't be any AI being able to beat human experts or pro gamers in Go for the next 5 to 10 years. And then Google came up with a solution for that, which was also very narrow and specific to this problem. But maybe they will come up with a solution in the next 5 to 10 years, which will tackle a more broad problem. But I don't think so. But yeah, let's see.
Yeah, let's see. That's a good point. I mean, what do you say?
It's a tricky question, like you said. I think what is sure, it won't replace data scientists, or at least the data scientists will always exist, maybe in a different form, because we will bring a lot of automation, especially in 5 years scale. We won't see a lot of things changing. And if AI replace data scientists, it means we replace like half of a human being working, because AI will be able to do other jobs than what we are doing today. And I think it's not a question to ask, because all the domain are evolving very fast. Data scientists, data science included, and data scientists will have to evolve within 5-10 years. When I started doing data, working in data 10 to 13 years back, we had different problems. What we were doing before, myself, I spent time automating and building up tools to automate what I was doing in the beginning, because there is no value doing it with the human brain, and focus on the value which is in front of us. So we have to look ahead and always get rid of all what can be automated and try to bring more value. And I think data scientists tomorrow, we'll see a lot of things like feature engineering and stuff like that will be completely automated and can go very fast. And you have to build up new skills to cap with the challenge of that time. So it won't replace, it will evolve.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Nabila, I think you have a very down-to-earth perspective on this one, as you're working in data governance. So you see day to day what that kind of data quality is here and how much efforts it's take, right? Do you see that happening in the next 5 to 10 years? Jobs of data scientists being like completely unnecessary due to AI?
No, I'm not saying this in the short term, for the simple reason that in order to be able to do that, we need to get to a level of maturity in data documentation, business understanding, that we are really not getting in the 5 years. And something I would like to kind of talk about after what Amin was saying earlier about the skill set he's looking for in his data scientist. We talk about listening, understanding, communicating, because this is really the added value of the data science in front of artificial intelligence. There is so much business context to capture when we work in data science that we are not yet at the maturity level of capturing this business context in the data, so we can automate it with a machine, everything. So I think there are good days for data scientists.
Yeah, that's what I meant when I was saying you just throw in all the documentation you have, you throw in all the data you have, you maybe you just speak to the machine, to some AI, and it should be able to then solve your problem. And I cannot imagine that that you have some AI understanding every business problem, understanding every data documentation, which is like very, very unstructured and everything, and then just comes up with a solution, because that's what I mean, we would need to be able to replace the data scientist.
Yeah. I mean that kind of say vision. I mean that it sounds fantastic because like just imagine what else we can solve in that time when we're able to build something like that, right? So let's also hope that in the meantime we can also tackle like big problems like climate change. So there's also been a lot of trends also in terms of say green AI to have a bit more awareness also on the climate effects of machine learning. Just that as a say some context here. But I'd like to get to a bit more fun question, which is at the same time a very important one. So I'd like to talk about Paycheck here. So we've been asked the question, are data scientists
Sorry,
really earning hell of
we don't
money?
hear you. We don't hear
You
you
can't
anymore,
hear
Jasmine.
yeah, good one. Unfortunately, we lost Bernard in the course of this, so that was really good joke here. So what would you say? Can you really earn a hell of a lot money becoming a data scientist, or would you say that is rather say a nice imagination? Who wants to talk about money? I know that's like a
No, it's no problem. I mean, I guess you can, but it's not about. I mean, you can also earn a lot of money doing other jobs, right? If you were at least, let's say, into banking and finance, you were some investment broker, you could. I mean, in the past at least, earn way more money, I would say, than a data scientist. But from my perspective, even though this also sounds like a truism, data money is not the it
highest bar.
shouldn't yeah, it shouldn't be the factor which is driving you. The factor which is driving, or which should be driving you, is the is some enthusiasm about data. And if you are smart in what you're doing and you're really enthusiastic about the data job, then I think money will to some extent come from alone from by itself.
So you have the perspective, if you love what you do, you can basically make money in basically every kind of job, right? Okay. I mean, what would you say? Was this like also maybe a main driver for you going into that business, or did it just like come naturally? Or maybe you wouldn't even say that it's a say well-paid job.
I think I'm totally agreeing with Timo. It comes with passion. It's not money who's driving a data scientist, definitely. And any other, I would say, era of technology, if you're working it, you need to be passionate about what you're doing. And this is the key thing to progress and to have the curiosity to always be up to the page and to learn more and more and more. So this is not money driving you, because at some point there is a limit in the money, and you will lose the. If you don't have the passion, you cannot go beyond that. From HR perspective, I would say, at least from my company and the ecosystem I know with consulting, data scientists are not paid much more than the others. You can find situation where they are a bit higher than average software engineer, because there is a hype, there is expectation which are higher, but not something crazy that people should really consider as the main thing to go for data science. But if you, unlike any other job, if you are a data scientist bringing a high business value in your specific company, of course your value is higher than somewhere else, and you get paid much more than average. So if you go for a company which is AI business, have an AI business model, and they are selling that when making money, of course you might have a higher chance to get paid much more than a classic company, and they're hiring data scientists as a deterministic job. It means that I give you this project, you work with this business, and you try to find the right algorithms to do this, automate this, to add this value and this value and this value. So here it's more deterministic, I would say, and the data scientist hasn't this, I would say, higher value than other average software engineer or computer scientist or statistic people that they have in the company.
Great, yeah. I think it's totally true. To maybe also say it really just depends on the individual case, on say the industry, your specific profile. But in the end, long term, money won't make you happy if you're unhappy with the position. If you're having to code, maybe even though you don't want to, so maybe that's not the right job for you. So I'd also say position first, and then let's talk about the financials, which has to be a fit, definitely. But it's maybe not the most important aspect. Nabila, what would you say about that?
I don't recruit data scientists, so I'm not in the data scientist range of salaries. So I don't have a comment on this.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay. Maybe let's come to an aspect which was mentioned before, right? Is it worth doing a PhD to become a data scientist? Maybe is it seen as a kind of prior necessity of getting a good job. Timo, as having made that path, what would you say? Would you do it again?
I would definitely do it again because it was a great experience. It was really cool to have this theoretical background, and this theoretical background really helps me in my daily job. But I wouldn't recommend to pursue it as the ultimate goal to become a data scientist. So it was more like I had the opportunity to do this, and I did it, and it now helps me. But I guess, and I'm pretty sure that these 5 years which I spent for the PhD, if you are working in data science with a master's for 5 years, gaining experience in industrial projects, and also learning about the new stuff, some theoretical aspects, then I guess I would say it's not needed to have the PhD, but I would do it again.
Okay, thank you for that personal opinion also. I think that's great to hear for some of our talents. I mean, I think you've briefly mentioned it before. Is it important to you that applicants have a PhD or have maybe a track record with conferences?
For our, I would say, average cases, because we are not looking to transform our businesses in the future. We are just looking for data scientists to do some process efficiency improvements, or to find some more business value. We don't have a specific research-oriented cases where we would like to hire PhD that help us to do the research and to do the R&D that we do internally to achieve that. So I think PhD, when you apply for a simple data scientist job, it's a kind of very big certification that you have been through the in-depth of the algorithms, and it's somehow comfort us and give us validation and guarantee that this guy has a deep knowledge.
Okay, yeah. I think it's some sort also if you're personally interested in and want to go into more research focusing jobs, right? I think that maybe could really be worth yeah, thinking about that. Nabila, do you have an opinion about that? Doing a PhD?
Yeah.
I think I can't hear her. Nabila, sorry.
Again.
No. Yes, now it's coming up. I think we have a
Can you hear me
kind
now?
of delay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I was just saying I would agree with what was said earlier. If it's a question of patience, definitely go for it. If it's a question of looking for good opportunity for work, for most of the cases, that's not the level expected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As we're coming to an end with this session, and again, I'd really like to thank you for your great perspective so far and also the advice given. I'd like to ask you to give a final piece of advice for anyone who wants to become maybe a data scientist, get on that path. What would you advise that person, maybe in terms of what kind of personal skill to develop, or maybe also what should be a must ask question in an interview? So what would you maybe say to a person who maybe has a first job interview in data science?
Yeah. I can start maybe because I think Timo's disconnected.
Yeah.
I think if first thing is to be passionate about data, because you spend your majority of the day manipulating data in all manners. And I think if you like that and you have some appetite for mathematics and statistics, you have the hardcore of a data scientist to apply an algorithms for a specific case. But this is I would say in the core of your skills. After that, you need to have appetite also for discussing with people, understanding the problem of others, to understand the business of your company, of your ecosystem, so that you make sure that you have the connecting the dots and finding value out there. And this is where you can find insight, because otherwise you are moving into a sea and you don't know what direction you're taking, and it won't create something amazing at the end. So if you have this appetite for for mathematics and for data, for computer science as well, because you will have your everything is digital, so you need to code yourself, you need to find solution yourself using any other technologies, and you have this skill set of soft skill set that, like discussing with people, like working with people, like understanding the business. I think it gives you the prerequisite to move on as a data scientist. And this is the passion. It means this is how you can consider yourself, for me at least, what is a data scientist, and how can you can make sure that tomorrow you will move forward very fast. And the advice for me, for a data scientist, because it's a domain which is evolving very fast, is to keep connected, understanding what's going on, to not lose your time doing something that has been already achieved somewhere else, and to make sure that you are understanding where is it going on. Every day I can find news that are shifting the direction of artificial intelligence market, and you need to understand all that to make sure that you are always up to date, you are always understanding what is coming next, and to be prepared and not lose yourself into what you are doing today and maybe becoming somewhere obsolete very quickly, because it's evolving very, very fast.
Yeah, definitely. Like keep on learning, keep on being curious, and it's a never-ending learning path, right? Thank you for that advice. I mean, Nabila, what is your final piece of advice?
My final piece of advice is same, not being into the technical exercise, really being connected with what you're trying to solve. Always ask yourself why 3 times before getting into solutioning anything, and using the whole landscape around you of skill sets, and being sensitive to what the data mean. Developing.
Thank you, Nabila. Timo, did you still hear that question? So
Yeah, sure. I hope my connection is working well again. So I guess from Amin did a really good summarization of all the skills you need and what you should do. What I would just add to this small piece is that you should have a broad understanding of the statistics and the algorithms which are out there, but maybe to have something where you differentiate from others, to have a special area where you are deeper into the topic and maybe an expert on this, like for instance NLP or voice recognition or whatever. So being able to work on a lot of topics and have your topic of expertise.
Great. Great final words. Really, really huge thanks go out to all of you for taking time despite your busy schedules, and giving your advice, giving your perspective. It's great to be connected with you. And huge thanks also go out to Bana, who had connection issues and unfortunately couldn't join us here, but maybe it will work better on the next Fireside chats, which will definitely come. Thanks a lot thanks going out to Singapore, Australia, Paderborn in Germany. I wish you a lovely evening, afternoon, wherever you are.
Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.